Say that life's about balance, baby, and the balance is in my account now. Okay, she got a perkin' and perk, I got a twerking and turk. She probably let both of us hit, the way that she smirking at dirt. She getting cake on the picture she take, I say, girl, if it worked, then it worked.
The Lifestyle Balance Podcast.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 30, with our mayor of our city, Mayor Steven Del Duca. And it's a pleasure having you. And tell us a little bit, or tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, let me say I'm really honored to have this chance to be here with both of you today. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I have had the honor of serving as mayor of the city since November of 2022. I've lost track of time now. Here we are in 2024. Hard to believe that it's already 2024. Being mayor for a little bit over a year. It's a great city. It's a very busy city. It's a city where I've lived for close to 40 years.
Wow.
So I've literally witnessed the city grow in a really fast pace.
Wow.
With lots more growth coming. Great people, very generous community. And I really love having the chance to serve this community as mayor.
Awesome. So I guess we will dive right in. Like Nick said, Season 2, it's an honor to have you here as our start of Season 2.
Great.
Which is great. And so we'll dive in with just to understand, let the people know you're the mayor and you're also your own person. So is there a difference to you, or is it the same?
I think I try to be myself in a very genuine way as serving as mayor.
Sure.
But, I always tell people I love being mayor. I love serving the public. But the most important job that I have today and the most important job I'm ever going to have is to be a father.
For sure.
So my wife and I, we actually don't live too far away from here. We live off Islington, just south of Langstaff.
Nice.
So from the west end of the city, from Ward 2, as we say it. And, our daughters are 16 and almost 13.
Nice.
And as much as I love being mayor, like I said a second ago, having the opportunity to be their dad and to be there for them is sort of the greatest thrill of a lifetime, if I can put it that way.
For sure.
Love spending time with them. My parents also live here in Woodbridge and spend a lot of time with my parents. They're getting a little bit older, so they have some challenges that they're facing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say Steven Del Duca as mayor and Steven Del Duca as family man are similar, but the official responsibilities you have as mayor require a certain degree of formality.
For sure.
And when it comes to being at home with my family and with close friends, I am the least formal person I know.
Yeah.
Always making jokes.
For sure.
I like to make people laugh. My public persona sometimes comes across a little bit differently, but that's just the nature of the game, I guess.
Yeah. It's the nature of the beast, for sure.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, it's true. That's awesome. And so tell us, when did you first begin your whole journey in this career?
Right. I was really young when I got first invited into politics. I was about 14, going on 15.
Okay.
And through a relative of my dad's, actually, I was asked to get to come and lend a hand as a volunteer at a I didn't know at the time, but it was a political meeting, a candidate nomination meeting.
Okay.
This is back in 1988. I don't want to know what years you guys were born in relation to when I started in politics, but that's 36 years ago now.
Wow.
And I kind of got in a weird but good way, kind of addicted to politics at that point. I saw that it was a really great way to meet people and to network, but also to talk about issues that matter.
For sure.
All the way back in that first campaign.
For sure.
And so it just kind of snowballed, if I can put it that way, from there. Mm-hmm. Campaign after campaign, building out a network. For many years as a volunteer. Then I had the chance to work for a couple of different politicians years ago.
Yeah.
Then I went back to school to do my law degree.
Oh, wow.
At Osgoode at York University.
Nice.
And then I decided to run for office, first provincially.
Yeah.
I served at Queen's Park for 6 years.
Wow.
Then became leader of the Ontario Liberal Party.
Yeah.
That didn't work out so well. And then I had the opportunity to run to be mayor in 2022. So it's been quite a journey.
Yes.
I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed the experience. I always tell people I met my wife through politics. So that's a great win for me. I'm not so sure for her, but that's a great win for me. And here I am 36 years in, still doing it, still serving the public.
That's amazing. It's a long time to be doing anything for that long. So
yes, it is.
That's great.
Being committed to it, too.
For sure.
For sure.
For sure.
So our next question is, how important is community involvement as your perspective as mayor?
It's you mean for me or for people in the community in general, or both?
I think, yeah, both.
I would say, look, for me, it's an unavoidable part of the job. It's the part
sure.
of the job I love the most, being out in
Nice.
the community, seeing people. I mentioned in one of my opening comments to have witnessed the growth here in the city of Vaughan as being quite an experience, but also to have witnessed the increasing urbanization, with one subway opening up in 2017, another
Yeah.
subway on the east side of our city now under construction, coming up Yonge Street. So the Yonge Street, the Yonge subway line will be extended up to Highway 7
Yes,
from
yes.
Finch, which
Yeah.
means that that's the boundary between Vaughan and Markham and Richmond Hill.
Exactly.
So that part of our city will have a subway in the next few years.
Wow.
And with things like subways come, condo towers,
growth.
come intensification, a lot more growth, vertical neighborhoods as we call them.
Yeah.
That's a big change for our community to see that materialize. There are some challenges that come with that. But to be involved in the city, to see the increased diversity, to see the really incredible spirit of generosity it's a marvelous thing.
For sure.
And I know as mayor, part of my job is to be a bit of a cheerleader for the city. And I'll often say here locally and when I'm outside of Vaughan, this is the greatest city in the country. But I really believe that.
Yeah.
When you think about the spirit that we have within the community, it is remarkable and it's unique. And it is something we should be really proud of here in Vaughan. It's certainly something I'm proud of. Then for regular everyday people like yourselves to be involved in the community helps to keep that magic going. So I urge everybody, it doesn't have to be politics, it doesn't have to be government. There's so many opportunities in Vaughan to be involved, whether it's in a hockey or soccer or baseball league, or it's in your place of worship, your church, your synagogue, your mosque, whatever it is. We have great seniors clubs here in the city of Vaughan, great recreation programs.
Sure.
There's so much to do in this city. People really should take advantage.
For sure. And I think from our standpoint, to go off that, I think when we started this podcast, it was when we really learned more about the community involvement.
Because we were
just along
targeting,
with this.
we were targeting people that were like in the community of Vaughan, like
Right.
Adriano Volpentesta.
Absolutely. Mr. Vontastic, my
Yes.
buddy, my council colleague who's doing a great
DOV
job.
approved. Love it.
777. Don't forget the 777.
No, you can't. So it's true though. Like to go off Nick's point, that's where we really understood it more in the past year or so doing this.
Yeah.
And so even from a university student standpoint, I go to U Ottawa, Nick goes to York. So when I'm always coming back and he's in the city and we're connecting with each other, the diversity is growing. We see it like every day. It's changed from when we were younger to now for
Like
sure.
on my way, I remember on Jane, the Vaughan Iceplex.
Yeah.
I would drive there for hockey practice, and I remember no condos.
Oh, no.
Now,
It's now.
now when I get off the 400, get onto Highway 7 to get to York, totally
And there's more
different.
coming. There's more coming.
Yeah.
But part of me like loves seeing it, like on my way home.
Yeah.
On Jane, and I just see like in the horizon all the condos.
It really, but it's it's a dramatic change for
sure.
longtime residents.
For sure.
And that's
Who
one
haven't
of
seen that before.
That's one of the
Challenges.
challenges in the city. People don't mind that it's near the subway. Where we face a challenge is when there are things that people want to build in existing neighborhoods or closer to existing neighborhoods. If somebody, Highway 7's a great example.
Yeah.
From the subway west all the way out to Pine Valley, with that BRT, the transit line running down the middle of Highway 7.
Yeah.
I would say over the next 20 years, we anticipate along Highway 7, you're going to see all of those or many of those commercial plazas that are 1 or 2 floors. Those will all become mid-rise and higher-rise condos.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge
For sure.
because if you lived here as long as I have or as long as you have, people don't always feel comfortable with dramatic change
For sure.
in their neighborhood.
For sure.
Affecting their biggest investment, which is their home.
Yeah.
And so it's trying to find that right balance as a mayor or a member of council to respect existing neighborhoods, but also absorb the growth and build the housing we need so that younger residents, as you're starting out in your life and career, you can afford to live close to where you grew up.
For sure.
And that's what I tell people, I don't think council should be rubber stamping every application at all.
Yeah.
I think we have to use our judgment. But I also look at my daughters, again, 16 and 13. I'm a very protective father, and I want them, and I want them to be close to us. Should they choose to be close to us, the question becomes, where could they afford to live in Vaughan right now if they were starting out in their 20s or even their 30s? And for most people, the answer is it's out of reach right now.
100%.
$1.5 million, $2 million, $2+ million for a home.
Yeah.
It's not easy
you're
for most
starting
people
off,
to start. So we've got to strike that balance, and that's part of the magic of this job. you know,
sure.
exercising our judgment to respect our residents, but also plan for the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I think to go off your point of being a father, I think that's an also great way to put it, because you get to see it as a mayor and a father. So you
Yeah.
also see the side of as a father growing up to two kids in the same area,
Yeah.
wanting to stay close to home.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
I just dropped them at school this morning before
yeah?
I came here. Yeah, it's great stuff.
It's awesome.
They were really excited when I woke them up this morning.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, time for school.
They see the snow. They thought it was a snow day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much for them to demand a snow day, but
Yeah.
Probably at our old high school, it's probably a snow day.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. And so I guess an interesting question, because we do have a lot of younger
Right.
adults and university students who watch us on a regular, would be if they were starting off in the political career, in local community engagement, what is the best advice you would give to them how to start off?
you know, my advice would be find an issue or an idea that really motivates you, that really makes you passionate. When you're running for office, doesn't matter whether it's municipal, provincial, or federal, and you're knocking on people's doors and you're asking them to vote for you,
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is coming across as genuine and authentic.
Yeah.
If you're doing it just because you want something on your resume, if
Yeah.
you're doing it just because it's a stepping stone to something else, if you're doing it just because it's ego and it feels like it's something that'll make you feel good about life, I think that shows through.
For sure.
And then people won't view your sense of public service as being genuine. If, on the other hand, you can say, no, whether it's community safety or it's housing affordability or it's youth engagement and whatever it is, whatever the issue is, it can be very localized. If you're giving off that sense that you're in this for the right reasons,
For sure.
voters who are very, very busy and don't have time to really focus on politics because they're normal, like normal people, but they'll sense that. They'll say, no, this candidate really had something, a special quality about him or her. They want to do this for the right reasons. So I always tell people, don't run to be someone. Run to do something is the way that I would. And the same thing goes outside of politics or elected office with community involvement. Find something you're passionate about. That'll make the work that you're doing easier for you, and it will make the end product better for the community.
100%. Yeah. 100%. I'll let you see that.
So a question that I want to ask that's not on there, what would you have to say to the people that don't go and vote?
You know, it's funny. There's a lot of people who get upset with voters who choose not to vote. And on one level, I understand that. But on another level, I think if you fully embrace and accept democracy, you have to accept that an individual also has the right to choose not to select anybody. For people who are just complacent, don't want to bother, don't want to make the time, it's disappointing. But I think, again, in a democracy, every choice is still a choice.
Yeah.
And so if the choice is not going to lead, and by the way, municipally, we made it easier in 2022
'Cause you get to
because
vote
the
online.
advanced voting
Yeah.
you could do
That was a
online,
big plus.
which I expect.
I think
we're
I
gonna-
did that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I voted in person on the day of, but my
Yeah.
parents who were in their 80s voted online. right?
Exactly.
And so I think we're probably going to keep that going. Council still has to make that decision, but I suspect we're going to keep that going. So we're trying to make it easier and eliminate the barriers that people may feel in terms of convenience. And so, look, I always tell people you should vote. I don't, I'd like you to vote for me, but it doesn't have to be me. Just vote because you're expressing what you want to see for the community. But if a person fundamentally chooses not to vote, I think in a democracy, you have to accept that that's just, again, the nature of what they're entitled to choose.
For sure. Great way to put that. Great way. And so would you say, from your perspective and seeing, like we were mentioning, back to the growth of Vaughan itself, 5 years down the line from now, let's say, so that would be 2029, what would be the biggest difference you would say is going to be seen, most visible to the city?
I think it's just going to be more, I'll call it, of that vertical growth.
Yeah.
So whether it's close to the subway or along Highway 7 or in certain other pockets around Vaughan Mills Mall, by the way, we anticipate a fair bit of high-rise growth. Promenade Mall, same sort of thing. Some of the stuff is already underway. I think you're going to see more of that. I'm really hoping that we're going to have some good news on the transportation front. I know that traffic gridlock has been a top concern for Vaughan residents for a long time. So stay tuned for some, I think, good news coming in that regard, which I think our voters will be happy about.
Nice.
I think the other big issue that's out there right now, which is, excuse me, very emotionally charged for people, and understandably, is community safety.
For sure.
We've seen a massive rise in crimes against property, home break-ins, and auto thefts.
Yeah.
Council is working very hard to try to combat that, and we're working closely with YRP. They're doing a really great job, but it's just making sure people understand that as their elected officials, we are able to do what we can to help keep them and their property safe.
Yeah.
And right now, there are a lot of our residents whose confidence it's been shaken.
For sure.
And so hopefully people hear me say loudly and clearly, we're aware we have a bit of a challenge in the city, and we're going to keep working hard to fight it.
Awesome. Love to hear that. And I think just to go more into your career perspective, what would you say is the biggest challenge, whether it's being mayor or in your past career choices, whether it's the Liberal Party as a leader? What was the biggest challenge that you've taken into account over the years?
That's a great question. I mean, I served as Liberal leader during COVID.
Yes.
And so being a politician during the worst pandemic in 100 years was, being an opposition politician was really, really tough because, people were scared. They only wanted to hear from the heads of government. They weren't really interested in traditional partisan politics. They didn't really want to hear from opposition politicians because by nature, opposition politicians are always complaining and criticizing. It's an ugly job to have
hard,
in that respect.
For
right?
For sure.
But to try to do that during COVID was really, really difficult. And I think that's probably been the biggest challenge I experienced, trying to navigate that as an opposition politician. I won the Liberal leadership on Saturday, March 7th, 2020. Wow. We had our first lockdown 1 week later.
Yep.
So it's like I literally became leader, and within a week we had the first lockdown.
Look at the timing.
Which the timing was absolutely horrible. But that from a political perspective, but it was horrible in general for all of us that had to endure a pandemic. So that was probably the biggest challenge that nobody could foresee.
Yes.
I'd like to believe under those tough circumstances we did the best we could. But I definitely think that if I was doing it all over again, there were some things I would probably do differently. So that's probably the biggest challenge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
And going back into like your political runs and everything, what was it like to like put up signs, do your campaign, all that?
All the fun stuff.
Putting up signs is actually my favorite thing in a campaign.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've done it in the last campaign. I'm just pointing out there at Francesca, who's here with me today. She and I went out like after midnight and we put up some signs because I find it almost therapeutic. You don't have to. You have to think a little bit, but not too much. You've got the big pounder out there. You want to see if if you can still handle the pounder at this advanced age. No, I'm just joking about that part. But
like everything like behind the scenes.
I enjoy all of it. Talking to voters, trying to find a creative way to connect with voters. I said this earlier. People are busy. Look at my wife and myself now. Kids that are in dance and they're going to tutoring and they're at school, and my wife's busy running her own business and I'm busy being mayor.
Yeah.
So imagine, and that, we're just like every other family.
For sure.
So imagine when you knock on a door, and first of all, these days nobody wants to answer their door anymore. It's not like 25 years ago.
You could just walk in.
You could literally just walk in and talk. Now people hear the doorbell, and if it's not Amazon, they don't want to come to the door and see what it is, or some other package being delivered. So trying to talk to people in a way, again, that's creative, where you can connect with them when they're so busy, I think is a really cool part of this job now. And it has changed over the last 20 or 30 years. It's not easy to connect with people.
For sure.
There's a lot that we see on social media. That's another tool politicians use. It's an important tool, but I think we all know what we see on social media is not always the same as who that person is when they're standing in front of you and they're doing a job interview to become your councillor or your mayor or your MPP or your MP. But I still enjoy we call it the cut and thrust of politics, and I don't think that's something that will ever change.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so moving forward as mayor and so forth, what's the biggest focus for you? I know you've said in the past, you've said on social media and so forth, but what's the main drive?
Yeah, the main drive, because I ran on a platform of trying to work on the traffic congestion, so that is still my number one priority.
Awesome.
It's really hard to undo 30 or 40 years of kind of growth and less than perfect decision making all in the span of a year.
Yeah.
We've had some progress already. I think more is coming before the end of this term for sure.
Nice.
So I would say fighting traffic congestion, making sure we work on the housing affordability piece, and community safety. Those are the three big pillars I think that will be my focus for the balance of this term.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And so I think swaying into our main topic of discussion here that we love to discuss, because we've had entrepreneurs, real estate guests, comedians.
Oh, wow.
All different types of guests, different career choices. So it's interesting to see the question we're going to ask is, how do you balance your lifestyle, whether it's being mayor or being a father or being both?
Yeah. I think
person.
Of all the political roles I've had, this is the easiest one from the standpoint of being able to balance it with my lifestyle. Because, when you're a member of provincial parliament or a provincial cabinet minister or a provincial party leader, yes, I had the responsibility of serving this constituency at the legislature at Queen's Park, but you also have a province-wide responsibility. So very often as a minister or as party leader, I would have been in Ottawa or Windsor or Thunder Bay or all points in between.
Yeah.
As mayor, everything is local, which I love because I do love the city. I do love the community. I love our people. And that also makes it a little bit easier to be in my daughter's lives.
Sure, for sure.
My parents need help shoveling the snow later today, which they will. I'm going to go and do it because I live 5 minutes away from them.
Awesome.
Dropping my daughters at school almost every morning. Don't get the chance to pick them up because I'm normally at City Hall, but at least taking them to school in the morning, I didn't have that opportunity when I was serving in the provincial space.
For sure.
So I think of all my political roles, this is the one where that lifestyle balance is actually being achieved to the greatest extent, which is another huge bonus because, if you couldn't tell already, like family is the most important thing to me by far.
Yeah.
It's how I was raised.
That's
It's
awesome.
how my parents treated me
That's
and
the
my
Italian
brothers and my
culture.
sister. It is, right? And it's something my wife and I are trying to carry on as a tradition.
Love that. Love that. That's awesome. Nick, you want to send it off?
Yeah. So I want to thank you for coming and
Start to season 2.
starting it off right. Get a big name and a personal connection to our city. And hopefully we could have you on again in the future
Absolutely.
as maybe as a second term or maybe you become prime minister.
I don't know about that part. I don't know about that part. This is my last political run for sure in terms of the position that I'm in.
Okay.
This is the job that I love, and besides, I love being married. And my wife has said, "Be mayor, but don't do any other political." Mayor is
I think
perfectly fine.
you've done a lot, so congratulations on that.
Thank you, and thanks for having me on. This is really great. Really,
Thank you for coming.
a pleasure to meet you, and really a pleasure to be this kickoff for season 2 for you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Say that life's about balance, baby, and the balance is in my account now. Okay, she got a perkin' and perk. I got a twerking and turk.